Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Good to have everyone here. Letting in people at the last minute. And I have to admit, I feel like my Zoom is really having some issues right now. Okay, good. Okay. All right. I can see you guys are joining and appreciate everyone showing up. I'll be fully honest. I'm having a funny glitch with my Zoom. I'll have to like reinstall it or something. On Zoom, I cannot see myself. And I can't even see you guys, but I do have another source that I'm sending the signal to where I can't see you guys. So anyways, bear with me if there's any glitches because of that. But I think I have a plan B. But if anybody has any issues hearing or seeing me on your end, let me know in the chat. But otherwise, I'll just be tolerating the glitches on my end. I think I can roll with it. So welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. This is a highly anticipated session. And the reason I know why is a couple of things. One, the session was initiated by one of our community members. I'll say Arnold Duin, D-U-I-N, sent me a message, informed me of Chris Main Pianos in Belgium and all of the interesting things that they were up to over there. I'm even excited to learn more and more about what's going on with that particular organization. And so we got that message, right? And then beyond that, last week, we accidentally sent out a message promoting this week's lecture last week. We had a great lecture last week, but it actually ended up being our Stretto piano masterclass, radio hour. And we did send out a notification early Saturday morning that was an accident and that we switched plans for you guys. Thank you for rolling with the punches. We still had an excellent session, and try to get the message out there that the session on straight strung pianos and Chris Main Pianos in Belgium was delayed. So thanks for joining. Thanks for tolerating a little bit of a glitch there. I'll try to make the introduction quick here. Just make sure we do a little intro to Piano Tech Radio Hour and Piano Technicians Masterclasses. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into a couple of things. An informational video on Pianos Main, which is on YouTube. I'll try to share the link, which you can actually review yourself at any time. But also a pre-recorded interview that I did with Hank Swinnon of Pianos Main. And he's basically their representative and head of product for their straight strung piano line. So he did a really well thought through presentation, which you'll get a chance to consume today. And then if there's time, we'll end with another pre-recorded video that, again, you can find on YouTube. I'll share the link, but he shared with me was just sort of a good bookend for this particular session. So I'll say briefly, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. For those of you out on Facebook and YouTube, we meet here, and this is your first time, so as you know, we meet here every Saturday. We meet with and learn from the most fascinating, knowledgeable folks in the piano world. This could be instrument makers of all sorts beyond pianos or within the piano industry. This could be retailers. This could be manufacturers on a large scale, musicians, recording engineers, all sorts of folks. And of course, piano techs are a large part of what we represent here. And the goal is to kind of help each other and get better at our craft. And this whole thing is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, which is an online learning resource that brings you cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. And you can find out more about that at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. Lastly, I'll just say every third Thursday of each month, we have a masterclass. And if you're a subscriber to masterclasses, you get to attend those. Upcoming, we've got some master classes on the damper system. or sort of the pedal system, let's put it that way, by Joe Jackson out of St. Louis, a really excellent instructor and entrepreneur in the piano industry. And he's going to do a series where he talks about everything from, the pedals to the lyre, to the damper system, to the damper heads, all the way through the back action, exploring the whole system and making sure everybody can understand how to approach it. So keep an eye out for that. There's links for that in our emails, and I'll add some into the chat here as the lecture today rolls on. And then just last thing, if you want to subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour, you get these sessions in a member area, the recordings you can review. Just going to admit somebody real quick here. You get the recordings that you can review now in a member area, and you get the link directly to join these each week if you're a subscriber. So it's just $16 a month, and you could subscribe it at bit.ly/join-PTRH, bit.ly/join-PTRH. All right. What I'd like to do now is pull up the first video I want to share with you guys, and then we'll review that. And then we'll head on into the presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to add any questions or comments in the chat, and we'll proceed from there. Here we go with the share. And we want to get into here. Let's make sure this is full screen. Beautiful. Sharing the audio. All right, excellent. Here we go. I'm gonna make sure I'm muted. Let's see here. Got a couple more people jumping in. That's great. All right.
Bij een rechtsnarige vleugelpiano liggen de snaren netjes evenwijdig naast elkaar. Dat klinkt evident, en toch is het meestal niet zo. Moderne vleugelpiano's die hebben allemaal gekruiste snaren. De bassnaren liggen schuin over het middenregister. Een idee van meneer Steinway, bedacht rond 1875. Tot die tijd werden alle vleugelpiano's gebouwd met rechte snaren. Alle componisten tot eind 19e eeuw, van Mozart tot Wagner, schreven hun muziek dus voor een rechtsnarige vleugel. En die klinkt fundamenteel anders. In een rechtsnarige vleugel dekken de registers elkaar niet af. De snaren liggen parallel en kunnen vrijuit een transparante klank produceren. De rechtsnarige vleugel heeft daardoor opvallend uitgesproken registers met een eigen karakteristieke kleur. Een robuuste bas, een transparant middenregister en een kristalheldere diskant. Net zoals de piano's van Beethoven, Schumann of Liszt. Maar dan met de kracht en brieën van een moderne vleugel. We grijpen terug op de traditie van 300 jaar klavierbouw, die Chris Mane al jarenlang bestudeert en toepast als maker van historische instrumenten. Klankrijkdom en transparantie staan voorop. Daarbovenop gebruiken we de modernste technieken, zowel in design als productie, en komen we tot innovatieve oplossingen. Om de beperkingen van vroeger te omzeilen hebben we een uniek tweedelig klankbord ontworpen en een hoogtechnologisch frame. Door traditie en innovatie te combineren ontwikkelden we een radicaal vernieuwend instrument. Een bijzondere aanwinst voor het bestaande pianolandschap. De legendarische Steinway is een icoon op zich. En daar gaan we niet aan tornen. Maar de rechtsnarige vleugel van Chris Mane is het enige artistiek zinnige alternatief. Zo blijkt uit de enthousiaste feedback die we krijgen van professionals van over de hele wereld.
I have grown to love this piano. I've grown to love playing on it. And for now, you know, I want to play everything, you know. It's like when you fall in love again, you want to go with the person everywhere. This is what I want to do with this piano.
Chris Mane liep al langer rond met het idee om die fantastische klank uit het verleden te transponeren naar een moderne vleugel, met een totaal nieuw concept. De doorbraak kwam er toen sterpianist Daniel Barenboim aanklopte om daadwerkelijk zo'n rechtsnarige vleugel te laten bouwen. Hij was door Steinway doorverwezen naar Chris Mane. Het werden er uiteindelijk 2 en die worden nu permanent door Barenboim bespeeld. De lovende reacties die we intussen kregen van vele pianisten hebben ons overtuigd om de instrumenten verder te ontwikkelen en te presenteren aan het grote publiek. De Chris Mane Straight Strung Concert Grand is de grote concertvleugel. Daarnaast produceren we nog 2 compactere modellen. De Chris Mane Parlor Grand is het kleine broertje, ideaal voor huiskamers en muziekscholen. De Chris Mane Chamber Music Concert Grand heeft een heel eigen karakter en leunt qua klankconcept nog dichter aan bij de mooiste vleugels van eind 19e eeuw, zoals de Bechstein, Blüthner of Erard. Hij is dan ook bij uitstek geschikt voor kamermuziek, liedbegeleiding of recitals in kleinere concertzalen.
Hey everyone, John Moran here, and today I'm about
Okay, great. We'll take a quick pause while I pull up the presentation and make sure that we get the proper video pulled up here. I probably should have mentioned it up front, but I'm sure you figured it out pretty quickly. The videos are in another language, of course, but there are subtitles. So just make sure if you got confused, make sure you pay attention to the screen, to the subtitles. All right, pulling up this video, and then we'll make sure we get started at the right moment. Okay. Go back. All right, great. We're about to get rolling with that. So I will share screen. And let me see here. Pull up one other thing on my end first. Okay, great. Time to screen share. And we'll make sure we're full screen on that. Sharing the sound. Oh, of course that came back. Let's make sure that's closed. Okay. Full screen. Perfect. Share screen. Okay. I don't know why it's not pulling that up. Let's try one more time. Okay, I guess I have to do that while it's sharing. All right, here we go. Enjoy.
So this is basically where we are going to talk about. Back here in Belgium, Chris Mane has started with historical instruments and built up an enormous expertise. The copies of his instruments, his historical instruments, are to be found from Vancouver to Singapore and back. At a certain moment, there was already with Chris an urge to maybe produce one day a modern straight strung concert grand with the, let's say, the ancient principle, the principle of stringing, which was the standard before Steinway decided to cross strings and make a new concept back in around 1860. These plans and ideas never were realized, in fact, until one moment. And that moment occurred in fact, 2013. That was Daniel Barenboim who asked Chris to make for him a modern straight string concert grand piano. And how it came all so far is what I'm going to explain during this presentation. So first, a bit of history and background about how we came to this instrument, which is we present as a real alternative on the market, knowing that cross-strung pianos are the standard. But we thought it might be a good idea to add something to the market as an alternative, because the sound pattern and the artistic result is rather different. Back to history and background. In fact, the new concept, which is an ancient concept in a new contemporary shape, was inspired by three items. The first is three observations. The second one is Chris's unique expertise of historical and modern pianos as well. And then the third element was, of course, Maestro Daniel Barenboim himself. So the first observation is that since Steinway defined the concept and sound of the grand piano between 1859 and 1885, not so much has changed. The standard is set, the cross-stringing has a very different sounding result, more homogeneity into the sound, at the same time a very nice strong sound, and it was presented as a big innovation on all world expositions and won many prizes, and was then since the beginning of the 20th century more or less considered as the big standard coming up. But at the same time, we also lost something. We lost a kind of sound diversity and color diversity, transparency, as we call it, which was the USP, in fact, of the straight strung instruments. The second observation of these three is that we couldn't ignore the fact that 95% of the repertoire of today's piano playing has been composed in a time where straight string instruments were the standard. So the characteristics of that sound and the characteristics which came with the transparency and the different registers were things even people like Debussy still very much appreciated and used and played. So all the composers up and until the beginning of the 20th century were composers who composed in a straight string sound world. Third observation is that the musicians of the younger generation, but in fact this whole movement already started after the Second World War, where there were people looking for innovation, creativity, and alternatives to the standard piano. We saw different brands coming up with within the within the cross-strung concept, its own characteristics as well. But we saw also a big movement towards historical keyboards, where people would play the keyboard which suits the music of the
Apologies. I don't know why it started loading again. Give me 1 minute. Sorry about that. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. All right. Video's loaded again. I don't know what just happened. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do a screen share here. I want you to help me find the place where I left off. Give me 1 second. And of course, I hope it doesn't, of course it's going to disappear when I screen share. I don't know what's going on with my computer. But let's give this a shot. Maybe we'll try sharing this way. Okay. Help me out in the chat here, folks, and make sure we get to the right part. I was just getting distracted writing some things up. Okay. So right now, let's see, we started at about around here. And let's see. We got a little bit in the history and background. If you got a comment, go ahead and let me know about where we were at. Otherwise, I'll just start. Let's see here. Let's just start around here. We might have a little bit of redundancy, but we'll go forward.
Not so much has changed. The standard is set, the cross-stringing has a very different sounding result, more homogeneity into the sound. At the same time, a very nice, strong sound. It was presented as a big innovation on all world expositions and won many prizes, and was then since the beginning of the 20th century more or less considered as the big standard coming up. But at the same time, we also lost something. We lost a kind of sound diversity and color diversity, transparency, as we call it, which was the USP, in fact, of the straight strung instruments. The second observation of these three is that we couldn't ignore the fact that 95% of the repertoire of today's piano playing has been composed in a time where straight string instruments were the standard. So the characteristics of that sound and the characteristics which came with the transparency and the different registers were things even people like Debussy still very much appreciated and used and played. So all the composers up and until the beginning of the 20th century were composers who composed in a straight string sound world. Third observation is that the musicians of the younger generation, but in fact this whole movement already started after the Second World War, where there were people looking for innovation, creativity, and alternatives to the standard piano. We saw different brands coming up with within the within the cross-string concept, its own characteristics as well. But we saw also a big movement towards historical keyboards, where people would play the keyboard which suits the music of the time. And there was lots of research done. And in the end, we now know this big movement of historical keyboard scene, where straight string instruments are, of course, the only choice. Then the second element is, of course, Chris Mane's own workshop. Since his 16th year, he is copying iconic instruments from the history of keyboard making, like Rucker's harpsichord, or as I said, a Pleyel played by Chopin, or even the Steinway No. 1, the very first in Germany made by Theodor Steinway, the first piano made in his kitchen. And Chris has in the meantime now a big recognition worldwide for his very much appreciated, you see him here with the King and the Queen of Belgium during a royal visit to the company, and has his reputation and therefore all this knowledge of straight string instruments. And then the third element, of course, the one element who really set fire to the project is Daniel Barenboim himself. He, in 2011, was confronted with a straight-strung Bechstein of 1859, which was owned by Franz Liszt, which he paid, and he, in fact, discovered suddenly the characteristic sound world of straight-string piano, which is much more coloring, is registers, pronounced registers in the piano, and not a quest for complete homogeneity. And other ways to articulate, and also a transparency and a color palette, which he didn't know existed on a piano. So he kind of got obsessed by that, and then went in 2013 to Steinway and asked if they could make him one, which was kindly refused, because Steinway was the inventor of the cross-stringing and saw no point in what they call going back, even if Daniel Barenboim thought it would be a step going in front of the market. And then, but Steinway was so kind to introduce Maestro Barenboim to Chris Mahne. And out of the contacts came the concept developed by Chris, which we will talk about later on in detail. By the end of 2013, there was an official order, and in 2015, Barenboim presented his instrument in London on a press conference and a recital, and since has played. He has two of these. We made two for him, and since has played only these instruments for recitals and concerts, and all repertoire from Boulez to Bach and back. Here is the little image where he's surrounded by the press presenting the instrument. The goal was, in fact, to merge the unique sound characteristics, not the unique sound, but the sound characteristics of historical instruments, which is a big difference, with the advantage of contemporary piano. So we started a full research project, also in collaboration with a Belgian innovation institution, subvention.
All right, we'll try again with this. We got a little bit of the way, thanks to my computer for this snafu. One moment. Get it back to the press conference scene here in a second. Okay, here we go. Not getting it that far. All right, I'm going to ask for some help again, guys. Sorry about this. Actually, I don't know what's going on with my computer. Just FYI, I do have a new computer that just arrived in the mail, but I have to get it set up. All right, so I'm going to do a screen share again. Help me out, because I know we were close to that press conference scene, but I don't know the timestamp. So we'll pop up here. Okay, so here we go. We're comparing. We're comparing the soundboard, the inner rim. Let's see here. Bass strings. So I remember we got through. I guess my question is, so I think we did hit the did we hit the model range, guys? Can somebody say in the chat, did we go through the model range? Or is this before or after where we left off? Anybody? Anybody remember?
No, didn't get to the models.
Okay, I got a message in the chat. Thank you so much. Back further. Okay, got it. Okay, so we'll go back. Differences between conventional and Chris Main straight strung. Even further back than that, right? I guess. I'm going to try. All right, so let's see here. That's at 25 minutes. Let's pull back. further back still? Anybody want to chime in? Yeah. Barenboim showing the piano at the press conference was the last one we saw. That's what I believe as well. So I guess just let me know if the things we're seeing right now are things that we already saw or not. We started it. Aha, here we are. Okay, so that's at about 33 minutes in the video. Okay, apologies for this. Let's try again.
Image where he's surrounded by the press presenting the instrument. The goal was in fact to merge the unique sound characteristics, not the unique sound, but the sound characteristics of historical instruments, which is a big difference, with the advantage of contemporary piano. So we started a full research project, also in collaboration with a Belgian innovation institution, subventioned by government, because some of the particularities of this instrument are a result of a huge R&D process. So we call it tradition meets innovation, because the tradition is that we make in a traditional way our pianos. So the full construction is real wood. There are no contemporary modern materials used in this instrument. It is a normal old-fashioned piano, in fact, but made by the highest standards and with the best materials, obviously. The exterior design is a bit what we call timeless. It is recognizable as a grand piano of today. One particularity is the music stand. As you can see, it is open, which enables the musician to be more engulfed by the sound when he plays the piano himself. A design detail for which we got lots and lots of positive comments by the most of the pianists, because they, on cross-strung instruments so far, the music stand is like a full damper to the music coming out of the instrument, since it is massive and completely closed. Therefore, it looks rather elegant and timeless, as I said. What are now the technical differences? Well, obviously, since the concept is a concept of straight stringing, we use two independent bridges, one for the bass strings and then one big for all the rest of the register. A particular detail is that we don't lacquer our inner side of the piano, neither the soundboard. Everything is hand polished in our workshop. Since we have this tradition and we have specialists in the house for the refurbishing of historical instruments and the reproducement of historical instruments, this technique is very well known in our factory and is applied also on our modern instruments. So the inside is not lacquered, but hand polished, which means that it is a combination of alcohol, shellac, and a cloth, and a very careful and meticulous French polisher who makes the surfaces almost sensually feeling. Another big difference is, of course, the frame. Since it pulls as well as a cross-string version, 21 tons of string tension. That is also a novelty because there was no, before we made it, no straight strung frame which could pull up to this tension. And as you can see, the bass strings are not in copper, but they are in brass. And why is this choice? Because brass has a different sound character as well. It's a bit more harsh maybe at first sight, but it enables also to make a very clear bass sound. And if you handle it well, it can also be very soft and smooth. It gives the bass a very particular bite character in articulation. And it is something we had in particular lots of positive feedback from because it gives the instrument its very particular character, actually. Here you see, of course, the frames. you can clearly see the schedule. Since the strings are open and not covering each other, of course, there is more transparency in vibration. It has more of orchestral qualities or choir qualities than the full mixed homogeneous sound of a cross-string instrument. So it's a bit more defined, as we call it, in sound and in harmony. The sound difference comes not only from the concept in itself, but also from a innovative element which we patented. It's the only patented element in the piano. It is the soundboard. And why? Because when we applied the historical production process for a straight string instrument, we also made a soundboard with parallel wood grain. So the direction of the wood grain is parallel to the strings. Whereas with a cross-string instrument, the wood grain is in a diagonal position. Here we applied this, but then we came to the conclusion that the length of the higher notes was a bit too limited. Since Daniel Barenboim wanted an instrument which could easily fill also bigger concert halls and would be able to play as easily a Brahms second.
All right. Good news, I have a plan B here. It'll take me a second to load it up, but I don't think we'll have this issue. Hopefully, my computer will cooperate. So bear with me 1 minute. And I'll pull up another view of the video, which I think is going to be more functional. Okay, let's see here. Find the file. Here we go. Okay, and then it just takes me a little bit of sleuthing. So last time we started was about 6 minutes ago. Okay, so the time in this video would be 34, I think. Let's see here. All right, and then let me go into this video. All right, we're gonna do, sorry guys, I'm very sorry. We're gonna do a little bit more sleuthing together for 1 minute. So let me do a quick screen share. Let's make sure we'll get to the same point in the video. Thank you for your patience. Okay, this is why you leave it up to Ethan to do this, because it is get complicated. All right, screen share. Okay, we're going to do the media player. We're just going to confirm where we were at. So I think we were at maybe somewhere around. Let's see here. 28. Yes. Yes, here we were. Difference between the conventional cross-strung and the Chris Main straight strung. We're looking at the different soundboards. All right, now let me bring up this other video. Perfect. Okay, and hopefully this one will load. All right. Put this in the other scene. All right. This is going to go full screen. And I'll stop share and share again. Okay, yes, exactly. The grain orientation. Okay, let's make sure we got that right. Do the screen share. Screen 2, we're going to look at this particular window. want to make sure we are using the most optimized quality. Okay, let's hit play.
Diagonal position.
All right.
Here we applied this, but then we came to the conclusion that
Good to go.
the length of the higher notes was a bit too limited. Since Daniel Barenboim wanted an instrument which could easily fill also bigger concert halls and would be able to play as easily a Brahms second piano concerto on it as on a Steinway, we revised the concept of the soundboard and actually made a composed soundboard where the upper side, the treble register until half of the middle register has a diagonally directioned soundboard pattern, and then integrates flawlessly into a parallel directionalized soundboard for the rest of the strings, so bass and underside of the middle register. This makes the length of this treble particularly beautiful, and it enhances the projection of the register, of the higher register. It gives it also a bit a different character even. And also that resulted in a very satisfying sound and projection. So in the end, we patented this type of soundboard, which we use in all of our model range of the straight string instruments. This is a complete novelty. Never before in history of piano making there was a soundboard composed. There were different directions of wood grain, for sure. Everybody experimented and had his particular ideas about that, but a composed soundboard, which is so assembled and so flawlessly integrated that it can be used as an entity as well, was never made before. This was the result also of a huge R&D process in collaboration with the University of Ghent and its engineers. Then other difference, of course, is the braces. They are not fan-like because the forces of the piano are also parallel, since the stringing is parallel. But in the end, what we wanted to achieve with this concept is transparency in the sound in all three of the registers. I have a very clear and diversified sound projection, also in a larger concert hall, with a good harmonic balance between the different registers, which would open a new range of expressiveness, but with the technical comfort of a high-notch, top-of-notch contemporary concert grand piano. Then to talk a bit about the model range, because it didn't, in the end, we decided to make a full model range of this model after Barenboim, the two pianos for Daniel Barenboim. We decided to commercialize it since we had so much positive feedback from the professional world, and we thought we might fill in a gap there of diversity which until now lacked in the modern piano world. Therefore, from the 284, the concert grand, there were deductions. So this is the concert grand with its full specs. As you can see, lots of elements are Steinway elements. The Kluge, the keyboard